Welcome, everyone. Welcome. And thank you for joining us. Today is a very important discussion on e-commerce and cybersecurity. My name is Mr. Cameron Reckley. I'll be your moderator for this webinar. And I'm joined by a host of very intelligent persons in their field, respectively. I'm joined with Mr. Gamal Nuri from Preventative Measures, an organization specializing in risk association, employee awareness training, and protective cybersecurity management. I'm also joined with Mr. Alan Gahi from Sekur, a leader in secure communication solutions, offering encrypted messaging and email platforms to protect business communications. I am also joined with Mr. Sebastian Curry, representing Sebastian Alliance Group, a leader in secure payment intelligence and e-commerce solutions, specializing in empowering business with innovative tools for digital transactions. Ladies and gentlemen, today, our goal for the day is to explore the interconnection between e-commerce and cybersecurity and how businesses can protect their online operations from evolving threats. We'll be discussing the role that our companies play in the space and how integrating cybersecurity into e-commerce is critical for long-term business survivors. We'll also have a Q&A session at the end, so please feel free to submit your questions throughout the webinar. Now, for our first segment, we're going to talk about e-commerce and its cybersecurity challenges. Now, I know e-commerce has seen an exponential growth throughout the years of businesses worldwide. So, Mr. Sebastian Curry, we're going to start off with you. Can you give us an overview on exactly what e-commerce means to you?
Well, thank you, Cameron, for acknowledging me. E-commerce really means to me is a pivotal, is an essential tool that is needed in today's society because it provides convenience, it provides security, it provides a global reach. And with e-commerce, you have the ability to reach a larger demographic. Now, you talk about the pitfalls and everything else. With regard to those pitfalls, there are cybersecurity fraud and other phishing attempts. Now, we have certain protocols and certain tools that mitigate those risks, such as the PCI standards that you must have for your platform in order for you to actually be approved with any bank institutions to accept any credit card payments. Then secondly, you want to be able to have a secure environment, which is additional layer, like some banks have, such as Scotiabank. They have a 3D secure layer that has a protective layer to prevent any fraudulent attempt. So it protects you as a merchant as well as the consumer.
Thank you, Mr. Sebastian. Thank you so much. And Mr. Nuri, from your experience, what are the most significant vulnerabilities that e-commerce businesses in the Caribbean face, and how can they address these effectively? Your mic is still muted, Mr. Nuri. Your mic.
With most digital platform, you'll find that usually your biggest vulnerability are the users, and be it on the customer side or on the actual platform that's facilitating the service. So this is not just unique to the Caribbean. You'll find this is a trend around the world where, the weakest link is usually the human element. And this is where fraudsters, hackers usually attempt to access and make their attack on the human element. Either on like I said, the customer side, their platform, what they're using, their software, or on the service that's facilitating that particular purchase or that particular commerce. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Allen, based on your expertise, can you provide an overview of how Sekur solution, how they stand in the current market as it relates to e-commerce?
Yes, so I will piggyback on Mr. Nuri's comment. A lot of time the issue is the user. So if you're a business and you are using e-commerce to sell goods, you're still using an email that you think is encrypted, and you're communicating with suppliers or sometime other clients for refunds or other. This is where the weak link comes. So at Sekur, we have a solution called Secure Send, which essentially keeps your email and the recipient's email in a closed server environment. You can send an email to anyone and the recipient can just reply back without having to use Sekur. This eliminates the big issue with email, which is basically when you send an email, it's like an open postcard. So again, it's a user-based issue, whether it's the recipient, the customer, a supplier, somebody impersonating as a supplier requesting funds to buy, let's say, what you will be selling on e-commerce. And on the user side, e-commerce companies that are legit could be impersonated by malicious persons asking for a payment from the customer or some other information. It's pretty much in line with what Mr. Nuri was saying. So we eliminate that risk completely with our Secure Send, Secure Reply feature on our Secure Mail solution.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. And today, in today's day and age, we have a lot of folks who are still from the old school era, and a lot of folks are still skeptical about the whole e-commerce situation. So, Sebastian, can you give us some of the benefits of the e-commerce?
Well, the benefits are clear. Well, one is convenience, because since the pandemic, post-pandemic, Amazon stock has risen because everyone was ordering remotely and no one was going to retail stores. So you could actually sit at home in your pajamas and purchase any item that you might need or any services that you might need. So one, that's convenience. Second, you have security. Like I mentioned before, you have the 3D secure solution layer that protects you as well as the merchant and the consumer. So therefore, it mitigates those risks. And then you have the ability to expand your horizon in different demographics.
Thank you. Awesome, Sebastian. Now, I know in today's market and all around the world, we have large companies, we have smaller companies. Mr. Nuri, how do smaller e-commerce businesses without the large IT budgets protect themselves against the rising threats of cyber attacks?
Well, I think the answer is kind of obvious. You utilize services that Alan is providing. You ensure that you put that type of infrastructure in place. You put those partitions in place. You can't just do business via an email. You have to make sure that there are certain platforms like Sekur that are in place to reduce your risk. And I think it's important that you like how you hop straight to smaller businesses, because everyone is now doing some type of e-commerce, is doing some type of transaction, whether you're doing it via a large scale purchase, whether you're paying for tuition or whatever the case may be. So you guard that security guard virtually that's out there and reduce your exposure, because a hacker, the attacks are gonna come, especially this time of the year. The guys are out there, and they're looking for vulnerabilities in your particular transactions. Yeah.
Excellent. We're talking about cybersecurity and all that. Let's shift gears. But before we shift gears into this segment 2, we have a short commercial break for our audience to look at.
Sebastian Alliance Group, SAG, where we we empower small businesses to succeed, where we make the impossible possible. With our e-commerce is possible. No more brick and mortar, get digital. SAG is right here for you. US, Canada, Bahamas. You can build a website for your products, accepting credit cards or digital payments. We make it easy to process, it's seamless. Sebastian Alliance Group, SAG, where we empower small businesses to succeed.
And we're back. Now let's segue into the importance of cybersecurity training and risk awareness. And I'm going to start with you, Mr. Nuri. What role does employee training play in reducing cybersecurity risks for e-commerce platforms? Can you provide a real-world example where training prevented a cyber incident?
Yeah, employee training is fundamental. It is your brick and mortar, for lack of a better term, because it sets that foundation. Your staff needs to be aware of what transactions are occurring. They need to be aware of potential attacks and vectors, the attack vectors that are out there. Certainly, we would have had clients where they would have seen it as simple as, the updating of passwords. Continuously updating passwords on a particular cycle. And so that's important. We've also had clients where they would have recognized attack vectors, because one of our solution at Preventative Measures is that we keep providing regular updates via our platform to inform staff about changes in attack vectors or the most recent trends in the various types of attacks and trends that are out there as it relates to hackers. So your employees are going to make or break your initiatives, because you can do all of the infrastructure, you can get the software, but if your employee decides to click on a particular item, that exposes your whole operation. So certainly employee awareness, and it must be ongoing. We get into a pattern sometimes where we would do a training once a year or maybe twice a year because the regulator says that we have to do a training twice a year. But certainly you want to have embedded ongoing training, and I recommend it at least monthly in some form or fashion, that you keep your staff aware of what are the trends. And vice versa, you need to keep your customers aware as well. So you should have opportunities or access for your customers to be made aware, not as aggressive, obviously, but certainly they should be made aware of what exposures are out there for them.
Definitely. I really agree. Where I work, we do have training twice a year, and it's mandatory training. And I've seen the significance in the training to help employees. But Mr. Allen, I'm going to go back to you, and I'm going to ask you, what future innovations or upgrades can we expect, especially from your business, Secure Business, in the privacy and secure communication space?
Yes, so as you know, some of you, we offer an email, a messenger, and a VPN. I want to go back to the messenger application, because in the communication aspect, a lot of time you will see people using WhatsApp, which is obviously not private and definitely not secure. One of the big weaknesses is that you have a phone number that you register with, and hackers will come in and monitor your entire conversation. Mr. Nuri, I'm sure, knows all of this. And this is a way where you can use secure messenger to communicate with clients and so forth, because we're creatures of habit. And this is why Mr. Nuri recommends training. So outside of the messenger, email, and VPN, which encrypts your connection, by the way, all our solutions are hosted in Switzerland, and we have our own infrastructure. That means we can comply with Swiss data privacy laws. We don't data mine you. That's another thing. You want to use companies that are not going to data mine you and sell your data. That is a huge risk, obviously. So we're planning to launch a video conferencing tool, Secure Voice, Secure Pro, and eventually a browser. Because if you're looking for a particular store that you already know, you don't need to search on a search engine. You go directly to that store. The idea is that you want to have a private connection, and the malicious hackers and snoopers cannot just check to see where you surf. A lot of these VPNs, by the way, do that. They sell your data traffic. So if you think you're using a VPN and you're safe, most of the time it's not the case, because they make money from that. So the idea is to protect yourself, and we're launching different solutions for that. We have a huge corporate enterprise solution launching in February, which will be also beneficial in the banking industry. It's a fully SEC compliant messaging application with record keeping and archiving. Some industries require that because they need to audit communication even years later. So that's kind of what we're going to launch. And I can't stress enough the training that Mr. Nuri mentioned. We're all creatures of habit. One of the ways to have your customers do it is have a regular communication, tip of the month, stuff like that, and really remind them some very basic things that we all forget sometime, to get back to that mind of trying to protect our data and communications.
Awesome, awesome. These are stuff that we have to look forward to and that we need. Mr. Sebastian, I know your company also deals with cybersecurity and risk awareness. Can you tell me a little about the risk assignments as it relates to your company?
Oh, okay. Yes, because e-commerce, it doesn't stop there with e-commerce, because the cybersecurity, like Mr. Nuri Allen has mentioned, there are different layers that's needed, especially to prevent human errors. You have certain solutions like Mimecast and other things that if you inadvertently click on a link, they will therefore ensure that that link is safe before proceeding, as well as the secure program that Alan has mentioned. It actually scans every data that's going through your inbox to prevent any damages to your system. Because number one indicator shows that the most institutions who are being hacked derive from an email or communication. So therefore, your e-commerce platform might be safe. However, if your infrastructure is not safe, then you still have a problem. So keep in mind that we must join two levels in your operations. One being the e-commerce and one being infrastructure. And thirdly, the one being for human training to prevent any breaches or any unnecessary hacks. Now, with the cybersecurity, as Mr. Nuri indicated, with the holidays, there's always a rise of fraudulent activities. Now, we've partnered, Sebastian Alliance Group has partnered with numerous banks, such as Scotiabank, CIBC, and others, Bank of Bahamas, that has a unique utility to prevent that. So once you have those in mind, those three layers, one being education for your organization, one being security for your infrastructure, whether it be a Mimecast or a secure solution. And the third thing is a profound and unique, strong e-commerce platform. And that is very, very important. A lot of times you have web developers, web firms indicate that, okay, you can build a website for only $200, but it doesn't meet the PCI standards. It doesn't meet the penetration test. So all of these things you have to consider when you transitioning from a brick and mortar to a digital environment.
Definitely. And we're talking about risk assessments. Mr. Nuri, how do you approach risk assessments for these e-commerce businesses? And what are the most common weaknesses that you see during these, as you evaluate these things?
Well, approaching the assessment would require an in-depth review, investigation, for lack of a better word, of that business and what are their operating style, their operating culture. And that's important. So it's not just the digital aspect, but what is the culture of the organization? Are policies and procedures in place? Are they adhered to? Are they regularly reviewed? So the culture, is it, in Bahamianese, is it a Slack environment that you're operating in? That's just for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
Is it a Slack work environment? Are there penalties? Do they do regular reviews, that types of thing internally? And from that we can assess the risk, because what we find is that you go into an environment and very robust policies and procedures, very robust, but they don't follow them. There's no penalty for non-compliance. So that dismantles all of your operational attempts. So that assessment really has to be very robust, and it has to look at all aspects of the operation and ensure that the business, the individuals and customers, because now we go into even compliance, KYC issues, are following what the protocols are to reduce that risk. And that varies from business to business. We talked about some small businesses may not have that budget or a budget to do all of those things on a regular basis, whereas a multinational operation may have that. So you will see that vary, or vice versa. The multinational organization is so big that they don't monitor the finer tune or the finer details, where the smaller business, because they are small, they are a bit more resilient, or they're a bit more nimble, and they can now address those smaller details. So an assessment is like going to a doctor, and you're doing a health screen, and your diet, your lifestyle is going to determine what you're exposed to. Similarly with business,
Yeah, excellent. And Mr. Allen, when it comes to proactive security policies, can you talk about that?
Yes, in fact, I'll hop on Mr. Nuri, what he said, a few items that he said. One of them, I should mention, there's something called business email compromise, or BEC attacks. Somebody can look it up. This is the most common attack that is affecting everyone. I know in the US, it's a $10 billion a year damaging issue. It comes when basically you're not using protective measures. Email is 91% of all the hacks that come in to a business or a person. Again, this is where Secure Send feature that we have counters that. The other thing is, you may have rules in place in a company, but then you have to implement them. In the financial industry, for example, the Security Exchange Commission has so far penalized banks globally to the tune of $3 billion because their employees are using regular text or chat like WhatsApp, Signal, etc., that don't have proper security, privacy, or record keeping. So it's really important to have preventative measures as much as you can. Use the best tools at hand. Kind of what Sebastian Curry said. What I like about that solution is that it encompasses everything. Sure, you can go to somebody cheap, but just to give a number out there, a cybersecurity hack costs on average a business $4.88 million. This is from the IBM research. This is what happened in 2024. So do you want to risk a multi-million-dollar breach, which is perceived and real? If you're a small business and you suffer a hack, you will have a very hard time to restart your business. It's better to invest in good solutions like SAG's eCommerce solution, which has pretty much the payment, the secure communication, and so forth lined up, offered by an extremely reputable bank like Scotiabank. So that's the kind of things that you need to do.
I'd like to also add to with recording as it pertains to loss, not just the dollar value, but also the reputation value.
Yes.
Loss. When business, regardless, is impacted, and you may not be that bank. Your bank may be the bank that's done all of the necessary work, and all of your I's have been dotted and your T's have been crossed. But the other bank, not your bank, but the other bank, hasn't been impacted. That also has a ripple effect into your business, because persons find it very hard to differentiate between who got it right and who got it wrong. Or the message usually comes out is that the bank or this particular institution got hacked, and so they put all of the businesses into one. So you have to be it has to be an ongoing protocols in place to reduce those types of losses. And so we're looking at reputation, we're looking at financial loss, we're looking at loss of market share. So all of these things factor in with one hack that didn't even occur in your particular business.
And if I may add, a lot of time the bank has all the bells and whistles, but the client, it could be a small business, it could be a very wealthy, high net worth. They don't want to deal with these complicated solutions. They just say, just send me a regular email. I can't open your secure email. And the other thing in general in communications, whether you're running an e-commerce business and you're on these support chat with your clients, which by the way, you can also install our messenger as opposed to using these unsecured chat support systems. If you're a regular small business and you're communicating with your customer, the customer is not going to be interested in super fancy things to decrypt and put passwords in. They just want to chat on their WhatsApp and they want to have a quick confirmation. Messaging and chat is now the norm. You'll notice. And then email is the confirmation. So the bank might be great, but then the client is not going to want to have that tool. The key, which is what we solve, that's why SAG selected us, is that we're able to secure the sender and the recipient. That's a very unique tool where we can send a chat by invite, and even if you don't have secure, you chat and then you're done. I think in e-commerce, we discussed there's a lot of online things, invisible things that happen to secure, but then you always have that human interaction. There's going to be a return, there's going to be a supplier. This is where both the training is important, Mr. Nuri, and the communication. What kind of communication tool do you use to communicate with your suppliers or your client? I read the other day, this huge company in Europe, in the last few months, they've been paying $60 million to a so-called supplier of rubber or something that it wasn't even the supplier. So big companies, I have to say, are even more in trouble because they have so many departments that they don't monitor. Like you said, I think smaller companies have the advantage of being more nimble. They need to pay attention because the risk for them to go under is much higher than a big company that has more money to survive the event.
I'm glad you said that, because I'm glad, Alan, you mentioned that, as well as Kamal, because that's why Sebastian Alliance exists, because there's Sebastian Alliance, and Sebastian Alliance has partnered with Sekur and Preventative Measures to meet all those demands, especially at a cost-effective way. Because SAG provides the platform. We have a turnkey solution that integrates with all the banks globally. So it saves you on development time, making sure the coding is up to date and meets the integrity of the regulators. And then we also have annual penetration tests, and we also do monthly updates. So when you target like the mom and pops who looking for a turnkey solution, we provide that complete umbrella. We provide the SAG e-platform that has all the bells and whistles, as well as it incorporate the secure platform to ensure that the communication is actually secured. And then you have Mr. Nuri here that will actually, him and his team will actually come and do the training process and the training awareness. So you have everything in that one nutshell.
I'm glad you mentioned this, if I may follow up on that, Sebastian, because you mentioned the upgrades. So that's the other thing is we are a publicly traded company, even though we're a micro cap. That means we still get annual audits, not only of our books and accounting, but we have a full IT audit. Incidentally, we used to be a payment processor back in 2006, and we had a PCI level 1 certification. So we are PCI compliant, not that we need to be. But another advantage of buying the SAG solution is that we update our things all the time. So it's automatically through API updated. So if a small business is using your solution, they don't have to worry about companies, is this the updated version or not? It's all automated. That's a huge load off the shoulder. You know, these small businesses, they just need to sell their goods or services. They don't have the budget to keep updating and be compliant. You're compliant, you're updated, we update, we have audits every year. So that's very rare for the price that you're offering this. I've noticed it's an extremely attractive offering with very reputable companies behind it. And then the business can just concentrate on running their business and selling their goods or services. So it's a very unique feature because you pretty much offer what a small business needs, you know, the online platform and how to communicate with suppliers or clients. And, you know, I think it's a great idea.
Definitely. And to our audience, feel free to drop some questions. So as the time goes, we'll be able to answer those questions. So feel free to drop those questions in the chat. And for right now, we're going to go into another quick commercial, and we'll jump right back into this nice heated discussion.
Welcome to the future of online business solutions, where simplicity meets innovation. Introducing the Sebastian Alliance Group WooCommerce plugin, a game changer for businesses seeking secure, seamless, and efficient online payment processing. Developed with precision and designed for success, this plugin is the only one of its kind directly integrated with Scotiabank, ensuring multi-layer protection for your customers' transactions. At Sebastian Alliance Group, security doesn't stop at transactions. With Sekur integrated into our solutions, your day-to-day business communications remain protected from ever-evolving cyber threats. Whether you're starting a small business or scaling an enterprise, the Sebastian Alliance WooCommerce plugin empowers you to accept payments globally with ease and confidence.
Thank you. Now, I want to go into the intersection of e-commerce and cybersecurity, because those two definitely correlate with each other. And I'm going to start off with Mr. Nuri. Cybersecurity is often seen as a reactive measure. How can businesses take a proactive approach to cybersecurity in the e-commerce field?
And you're very right. Usually security is seen as an after the fact. You know, we got robbed and all of a sudden we want to now implement in some type of security measure. I would go back to what we've been talking about, risk assessments, and those need to be ongoing, where you evaluate the environment that you're working and you're operating in, to ensure that you stay with your hand on the pulse, for lack of a better word. I'd also, you know, circle back to the things that Sebastian and Alan talked about. What entities or platforms are you using? Have they done their due diligence? And so if you're using a particular platform that has not done its due diligence, that's not audited, that's not meeting local and international standards, as a matter of fact, then you leave your business exposed as well. So you don't want to wait for something to happen. You want to be proactive. You want to put in preventative measures, for lack of a better word again, to ensure that you are staying ahead of the game. You want to be preemptive in how you are approaching business. And so responding to an incident has its role. That is a reality that we must appreciate, but we also want to appreciate our prevention and readiness to an incident. And that helps to reduce the impact and helps to make our response a bit better. And so the fundamental key point here is ongoing risk assessments. If it didn't happen to you and it's happening to another business in your industry, then you need to see what did they do. Find out as much details and information about what went wrong in their environment and see if you have associated gaps that can also be manipulated. So that's, in my opinion, that is the way forward to reduce this to not be reactive to incidents, but to anticipate and to have an understanding of the environment, the tools that are available to you.
Excellent, excellent. And so, Sebastian, can you share with us some success stories or a case story of a business that benefited significantly from SGA e-commerce solutions?
Oh, well, there's numerous. I could actually talk on. One was Greenleaf Financials. They were the first Bahamian financial institution to have offer loans online, as well as provide a collection methodology. Now, this happened before COVID. So they were proactive in implementing that infrastructure. So when COVID did come around, the system allowed them to still be able to be in business, because a lot of businesses during that era has either went belly up or they simply give up. And what Greenleaf did was they pivot. And when they pivot, persons from the Fami Islands, the archipelago of the Bahamas that does not have any banks, SAG has also partnered with Suncash. And Suncash is a wallet-based system that is deployed in various islands. So since there's no banks like Scotia or RBC in Mayaguana, there's a Suncash outlet that is tied with SAG. So persons could either take their cash and give it to Suncash and make their payment through the SAG platform. Or in vice versa, we can empower persons in the remote island to accept payments, and it goes directly to their Suncash. So not necessarily that they have to be in the cities of the Bahamas, such as Freeport and Abaco and Nassau, but they can be able to have an e-commerce platform in Inagua selling their Bahamian tourist item or whatever product that they may have, and the funds goes directly to their account in Inagua through the SAG and Suncash platform. So they will be able to work with persons around the world. And going back to what I said with Greenleaf also have that same platform infrastructure embedded into that. It is integrated into their Bank of Bahamas account as well as their Suncash account. So they were able to pivot during unprecedented times. And additionally, we also digitized the entire RBC collection agency that's managed underneath Intellis. That is by Mr. Ed Raman. And we also did it for Scotiabank as well. So those are one of the success stories that SAG have. Also, I would be remiss if I do not mention this vendor name. That would be Unique Bahamians. Now, SAG took on their complete infrastructure from their point of sale, from their website to their e-commerce. So what we did is with their existing point of sale, we integrated our e-commerce platform directly into their point of sale. So whenever a sale is rendered online, it would update their point of sale in real time and deplete their inventory in real time. So that is unique. And it's also empowering that particular vendor because they are showcasing Bahamian unique jewelry around the world. And
Thank
this
you.
is also tied into the Scotiabank.
Definitely. It's always amazing that we have local vendors like Bahamians who have these products, and we don't have to go internationally for these products. So companies like Preventative Measures and Unique Bahamian and SGA, we are grateful for these local Bahamian companies. But Mr. Allen, can you share some success stories or case stories of a business that benefits significantly from secure solutions?
Yes, so for privacy reason, I can't disclose the names. However, we have a very large partnership with the largest telecom operator in all of Latin America and the Caribbean. It's called America Mobile. They go under the brand Claro. They're in some of your neighboring countries. So they basically took Secure Messenger and selling it to their users. It started in Mexico. We have a few banks already lined up for our corporate solution. An interesting example would be a bank that delivers credit cards via delivery couriers on a moped. This is common in those countries. So typically they want to communicate with the client and they want to say, it's so and so from this bank. I want to come and bring your new credit card. This is very common there, not very common, obviously, in the US. So this is a way to communicate securely with the client without using regular chat methods. Would they use Secure Messenger with a chat by invite, which means they can text a link or email a link to the client. The client clicks on it and they're immediately in our secure environment. Communication happens and then the sender deletes everything and that's still archived for that SEC regulation. This is a great story, success story. We have also lawyers and financial institutions, law firms that are being hacked by other law firms, actually, which I find that interesting. And now every time they send a contract or communication of importance, they're using our secure send. This has prevented and basically reduced down to zero any kind of compromise or breach. It also forces, kind of like the habit thing, it forces people to use that secure send button and method, and it's just a matter of habit. So as a small business, you may not use that for every single of your emails, but when you have important emails, and this is an automatic thing that they do, they've seen reduction of breach and also confidence with their client. Because if you're an accounting firm or a law firm or any business and you tell your customers that you're using a highly private and secure version of a communication and you respect their privacy and you value that, this brings your business image even higher. We have some companies in the e-commerce actually, in the medical industry, in pharmaceutical, that are looking at implementing these one-time passwords. I'm sure some of you guys have gotten a text from a bank. This is your OTP, punch in this number. The problem is that it still goes through your phone through a text message. Whether you think it's encrypted or not, it goes on your device in your phone number. So we're replacing that with the messenger because nobody knows. You're invisible in our messenger because your phone number is never registered. So if you want to log into a bank or e-commerce also have those kind of solution, double checking your login and they send you a code, this OTP as we call it, a one-time password. We're able to do that with Messenger and we're getting more and more requests on those. So there's definitely awareness in some sectors, and those are all successes for secure private data.
Awesome, awesome. So we have a question. I'm going to give this question to Mr. Nuri. We have a question from Ms. Markendorf. She says, it's so awesome to see Bahamian companies coming together to offer great service to the business community. The question is, how affordable is the security package for the average small business? So, Mr. Nuri, your business, Preventative Measures, how affordable it is for small businesses to go ahead with your company?
For our basic security solution, which is an ongoing solution, then you're looking at an investment for that one employee for a year for 12 months of training. Are you ready? Are you holding on? $56 for that one employee.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
So that's a basic, ongoing training for that employee, and that goes on, and that provides you with regular training and testing, because this is the gateway. Now, when we get into more in-depth solutions and more aggressive and vigorous solutions, that will require us to do some more things. But at the very onset, very much entryway, it's no more than $56 for that individual. So I would think that that's relatively reasonable if you want to look at the loss, the numbers that Alan mentioned that are going into the millions, and the reputational loss and all of those other associated losses, right? That's a very small investment.
And may I add something, if it's okay? So first of all, it's cheaper than buying them one coffee a month. So that's
Correct.
one thing. It's coffee, one coffee a month on the company, or securing your entire infrastructure and thing. The other thing about small businesses, I've read so many stories about and statistics, but if I'm correct, more or less 50% of small businesses go bankrupt within 6 to 12 months after suffering a breach. And the reason is because their entire reputation is shot. They have no more access to their email, their clients, etc. And it's very hard to recover from that. There's a very high percentage of small businesses that would eventually have to close their doors after they suffer a breach. So it's important to know that, because you would rather pay their $56 a year. In our case, the package might be $100 a year. But at the end of the day, it's still extremely affordable. It's cheaper than your one coffee a day, and being in business and protecting all your business and your clients too. I mean, $56, that's unbeatable. That's hard.
What I want to stress too with all of the solutions here, this is what I would call upfront insurance, because insurance for the most part usually waits for something to happen and then it attempts to pay out what that estimated loss would have been. But this front-facing or upfront insurance, it minimizes and hopefully reduces, and the intent is to eliminate the attack. And so you don't have to go into recovery mode. And like Alan said, it is very difficult to recover. It is very difficult to recover your reputation, the amount of finances, investments that have went into your products and your services. It's a very difficult challenge. In fact, it'll cost you more than you would have paid, just to start your business. So certainly doing these things, going back to the question that you brought up earlier, proactive. Be proactive in your attempts to reduce risk.
Definitely. And sticking with you, Mr. Nuri, how does Preventive Measures work with companies to integrate the cybersecurity into their overall business continuity and continuity as it relates to a disaster recovery plan?
Well, it goes back. Fundamental to anything is the risk assessment. Doing that risk assessment to identify the threats, identify your vulnerabilities, and then find solutions to reduce those particular risks. So whether it's a cyber risk, or whether it's disaster, business continuity related issues that may not be limited to cyber, that may go into physical assets or human assets. It goes back to sitting down with that client on the onset and doing a risk assessment. Like you go to a doctor and you say, doc, I have a headache, I have a backache. And so the doctor sits you down and they run you through these various questions, these different tests, these different reviews and inspections to ensure that when they provide a solution, it's going to be the best solution for your operation. And that's what preventative measures does. We do similar with your business. We sit back and we say, hey, what's going right? What's going wrong? What are your exposures? What are your vulnerabilities? And what are your threats? And let's find the best solution. And certainly Sekur and SAG are those types of solutions. That's why we're a part of this alliance to make sure we are able to give the best transition for the types of solutions that we see that are needed in the market.
Definitely. Now, Sebastian, you talked about SunCash and you talked about these other platforms. How does SAG envision its role in supporting the growth of digital businesses in these emerging markets?
Well, I'm glad you asked the question, because technology is ever evolving. And for us, we have the opportunity to integrate with numerous banks globally that allows us the ability to be ahead of the curve. And what we try to do is try to implement all of those security measures as well as e-commerce measures and open banking concepts in our platform. And what we try to do is we also integrated the central bank digital currency, which is the Bahamian Sand Dollar. This is one of the first in its kind in its region for the Caribbean. And what it does, it's pegged by dollar for dollar, and it allows the help of putting towards the GDP, especially now, where, as I read in the article in the Tribune, I think, it said that the Bahamas national debt is nearly $12 billion. And and that is massive. And because SAG has a turnkey solution, it allows persons to pivot as well as empower themselves to actually sell their products or service globally. So it's not limited to the Bahamas, it's not limited to any countries, because we have partnered with Scotiabank. So wherever Scotiabank is around the world, SAG is. So they are in Peru, they're in Barbados, Turks and Caicos, etc. So we have expanded our territory, and we are always evolving, and we always looking to bring on new alliances and new partnerships. So therefore, the Alliance team will remain strong.
So to our viewers, we have about 5 more minutes or so. So go ahead and feel free to enter any more questions in the chat if you need be. But I'm going to ask our panelists one or two more questions to wrap up the entire webinar. So I'm going ahead and I'm going to start off with you, Mr. Allen. We talked about cybersecurity, we talked about e-commerce, and we talked about the importance of employee training. We're talking about the importance of the risk assessments and all that. But for you, Mr. Allen, what are some common mistakes businesses make in protecting their e-commerce platforms?
I think one of the first thing is they need to choose a proper payment processor and company. SAG solution is the one to choose. You need to make sure they're reputable. And that's one thing when it comes to e-commerce. I think in general, in commerce, business in general, in the communication aspect, businesses are too quick to open links and click on things a lot because we get caught up in the whole day-to-day. I would recommend people to think twice to see who's sending you an email. If there's something that looks suspicious, call that person, because this could be somebody impersonating someone. Also, I would recommend using a secure connection. I don't think we even discussed that. When you have an internet connection, make sure it's not a Wi-Fi with a password that everybody knows and hasn't been changed in 4 years, most likely. The most basic mistakes that we all make are the most obvious, that after the fact, we're thinking, how come we didn't think of it? So first of all, use a highly secure connection. Do not use your Wi-Fi unless you know for a fact that it's secure. A lot of small businesses will go in a coffee shop or someplace or a fun lounge and just go on a computer, because today with e-commerce, you can do that. You can literally be anywhere. If you go to a public location, do not use their Wi-Fi. Try to use your own streaming on your phone, because I think it's going to be more secure. If you're in a hotel and you're doing some transaction, you have to follow up on customers. So I think the Wi-Fi connection, or just in general, the internet connection, needs to be secure. And then obviously know your suppliers. So if you get an email supposedly from a supplier with an invoice that you think you didn't pay, call the supplier to verify that it was them that sent it. So really more human behaviors. Obviously, you would want to choose a proper e-commerce platform. And I think anybody who's watching us or anybody who will definitely know they should use the SAG platform. And that's it. Then the rest is more about human behavior and checking your internet connection, that it is secure, because that's where the people can go in and monitor what you're doing.
Awesome stuff. Now we have a question from one of the audience, and Mr. Nuri, I'm going to give you this question. It says, how do the panelists think e-commerce will differ 20 years from now compared to today?
How do you think? How we would think that they would differ?
Yeah.
How will it change, maybe?
How will it change?
Yes, yeah. Well, I see with e-commerce and an increase with AI. I see AI definitely impacting how we conduct business, and from a security perspective, it definitely puts a lot of pressure on security when we have things like deep fakes. When we have identity theft, the way AI is able to manipulate human behavior. So definitely there needs to be an increased resilience in operating platforms to address the incoming or the arrival of AI. And what we see today, I recall watching a video of what AI was, let's say, 1 year ago, and it was very distorted. It was easily detectable that this was a deep fake. But now we see AI in 2024, at the end of 2024, where it is very difficult to distinguish between what is real and what is fake. So for e-commerce, much more resilient platforms, more aggressive validation of the individual. We talk about two-factor authentication. So we definitely would see that type of increase. Certainly, platforms like Sekur and SAG would now would have higher standards to be met as we see the influx of AI. So I see AI being the biggest differentiator and the game changer moving forward.
So we are approaching that 3 o'clock hour, and it's been a great conversation, but I'm going to give our panelists 1 minute each to just wrap up and say their thoughts on the whole e-commerce and cybersecurity. So I'm going to start off with Mr. Allen, followed by Mr. Nuri, and Sebastian, you can wrap it up.
Okay.
All right. So should I start? Final thought?
Yeah, final thoughts.
I think final thoughts, e-commerce is here to stay. We all know now that we should use proper platform, use discernment in our behavior, develop proper behavior to protect ourselves and our businesses and our customers. E-commerce, I think I saw the other day in 2000 up to 2015 was only 10% of commerce. Now it's over 50. So this is definitely here to stay. I would recommend all businesses, whether they're on the e-commerce trading or communicating on the side, to really make sure that you use proper communication tool and obviously prevent these kind of businesses email compromise, because a lot of businesses lose tremendous amount of money with fake emails requiring, money sent to fake suppliers, or if you have an invoice to someone, that email is going to be compromised and the account number is going to be basically modified so the money goes to the hacker. So from our standpoint, use proper communication tools. Obviously, use a good internet connection that's secure, that you know of. Avoid Wi-Fi as much as you can, especially in public spaces. That's kind of where I would see, and enjoy your e-commerce. It's great because it democratizes commerce for many people. I've heard about distant parts of the Bahamas where they may not have big infrastructure. People are able now to sell their goods globally with a currency that will pay them, and I think that's amazing to be able to elevate people. So democratize commerce globally. This is the best thing.
Awesome. Mr. Nuri, final thoughts?
Yes. Ongoing, continuous training and awareness, not just for your staff, but also for your customers. So in the event of a breach, in the event of an attack, in the event of a system failure, your customers, your staff know what to do. They don't increase increase the damage by not knowing what to do. So you want to make sure that you have ongoing awareness and training programs. And this doesn't mean taking them out of the work environment. This means maybe just a type of news flash, a type of communication that just keeps them aware of what the trends are. And similarly, like I mentioned in my previous answer, AI is here as well. So understand that just as AI has now become a valuable tool in how we conduct business and how we communicate with each other, criminals will also use AI to manipulate and take advantage of unknowing or unsuspecting individuals. So ongoing training, be aware of the threat and the benefits, obviously, of AI.
Awesome. And Sebastian, your final thoughts?
Okay, my final thoughts. And the key takeaway of this session is being proactive. E-commerce and cybersecurity are deeply interconnected, and success in the digital economy depends on being proactive in protecting both businesses and consumers. By anticipating risks and implementing robust security measures and staying agile in the face of danger, businesses can adapt and thrive. Remember, the key to resilience is not just reacting to threats, but staying ahead of them. JFK once said, "Change is the law of life, and those who only look to the past or the present will certainly miss the future."
Thank you. Awesome. So once again, I want to thank you, our panelists. I want to thank you, audience, for joining us today. We hope that this discussion was provided valuable insight into the importance of cybersecurity and e-commerce. As we have discussed, cybersecurity must be an integral part of every business, whether it be e-commerce strategy, and also by integrating security payments and secure payment systems, training employees, recognizing threats, and encrypting communication. Businesses can operate with confidence and protect both the customers and their bottom line. Thank you to our panelists, Mr. Sebastian Alliance Group, Preventative Measures, and Sekur. If you'd like to learn more about how these businesses can help, please feel free to reach out to the e-commerce or e-commerce platform. Do not hesitate to reach out. Once again, we want to thank you for spending your afternoon with us. It was a pleasure. All of our panelists are very insightful, very knowledgeable about the topic at hand, and it was great to have you guys. So see you guys next time as we dive into a bit more deeper as it relates to cybersecurity and e-commerce. Everyone, have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.